Welcome to Denver Startup Week. I'm Tammy Dorr, President and CEO of the Downtown Denver Partnership and co-chair of Denver Startup Week. This year marks the 10-year anniversary of Denver Startup Week. DSW has been the catalyst for lots of change over the past decade. And this week, we're coming together to celebrate the past and dream big for the future. We are able to bring Denver Startup Week to this community thanks to our 2021 sponsors. Thank you to our HQ and title sponsor, Amazon, and our title sponsors whose leadership makes this week come to life. Capital One Cafe, Downtown Denver Partnership, Fluid Truck, Hotel Engine, and WeWork. And our track sponsors who have made all of the great content you're hearing today possible, our founder track sponsor, Kickstart, growth track sponsor, Friday Health Plans, developer track sponsor, Quizlet, product track sponsor, Palantir, our designer track sponsor, Battery 621, and the Public Works, people track sponsor, Exactly, and spotlight event sponsor, Strat Labs. Our headline event sponsors are bringing the excitement to the week. Thank you to B-Side Fund, Colorado Public Radio, Comcast, Coors Brewing, Denver Pavilions, Entrepreneurship at the University of Denver, JP Morgan Chase, Method, Moss Adams, Pi Insurance, Promontory MortgagePath, Southwest, Tattered Cover, and VF Venture Foundry. Finally, thank you to our partner and member sponsors, all listed on the screen. Please say thank you to these companies as you enjoy our hybrid Denver Startup Week. And don't forget, use the hashtag DenStartupWeek to share your experiences and moments of inspiration on social media. Have a great week.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Michelle Woolfolk, and I'm Director of Product and part of our technology team here at Promontory MortgagePath. And I'm excited to be able to welcome you to this session as sponsors of the Denver Startup Week series, Stronger Together. This event series celebrates bold ideas, keen ambitions, the diverse landscape of women-owned and led, gender-inclusive businesses throughout Colorado, and the many organizations that support them. For those of you who don't know us, Promontory MortgagePath is a Denver-based fintech startup on a mission to fundamentally change the way community lenders approach their mortgage business. We're a fast-growing team of problem solvers that are leveraging tech to engineer a faster, simpler, more inclusive mortgage process. And our team is driven by a shared desire to make change, and our collaborative environment is rooted in transparency and continuous self-improvement. We've continued to grow over the last year, adding well over 100 Denver-based and remote team members. So if you're seeking an environment dedicated to your personal and professional success and growth, and one where you can have a real and lasting impact, I encourage you to stop by our booth at the job fair or visit our careers page on our website. We are grateful for the opportunity to partner with Denver Startup Week to support Denver's connected and diverse entrepreneurship ecosystem. And we're especially proud to sponsor the Stronger Together series. Promontory MortgagePath believes advocating for women in entrepreneurship and business in general. We think that's critical. And more than half of our team members in executive level positions are held by team members identifying as female. Gaining inspiration from women who have forged the path, like our upcoming speakers, is important as we continue to support women in leadership. And with that, let's welcome and enjoy the session.
Hi everyone, welcome to Denver Startup Week. I'm Diane Miles, the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Co-Chair and a member of the Denver Startup Week Organizing Committee. Thank you for joining us for the 10th anniversary of Denver Startup Week. At Denver Startup Week, we strive to make all of our sessions a space where attendees can connect, learn, and grow, regardless of age, gender identity, gender expression, race, ability, or sexual orientation. A special thank you to our sponsors for their support in helping us to keep Denver Startup Week free and accessible for all. Thank you for joining us and have a great week.
All right, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. Today's Tuesday. It is our second day of Denver Startup Week. And we're just excited to have you here. My name's Olivia Omega. I'm the founder track chair, Denver Startup Week. And I'm excited to have these incredible women here gathering together. We're at a table, if you can't see, and if we were 100% in person, we would be at a table together. But welcome to our table, welcome to the Roundtable. I want to kick this off real quickly and just say that our goal for this session is just to have a real heart-to-heart, down-to-earth conversation, raw feelings, vulnerability, and transparency, talking about the amazing community that Women Who Startup is, the history, how it has supported all of us here around this table, and then also talking about being a woman founder and what that means here in the ecosystem of Denver. I want to quickly introduce to you our people. I don't even want to call you all panelists because this is a table. The women at the table, I want to introduce to you Liz George, Simone Ross, Tiffany Lanier, and Lizelle Van Vuuren. We are going to quickly go around the table and have you all introduce yourselves and just talk about who you are, what you're currently doing, and we'll get into maybe all of the past and the pivots and all of the things, what you're currently doing, and then why are you excited about this specific session with these specific women. So I am going to throw it over to Simone first, and then we'll go around the table.
Well, what is it? Good morning. Oh my gosh, this is year 3. I am so stinking excited to be here. I am on my own. I'm a solopreneur. I am the founder and CEO of Simone Ross, which houses 3 business entities. And also right now I am the interim CEO of the Colorado Women's Chamber of Commerce. And this community actually has really been a great mirror for me in helping me really kind of achieve and actually see who I am, what I want to be when I grow up. And so I am just eternally grateful for this network of women to hold that mirror up. Sometimes it's ugly, sometimes she cute. But yeah, I'm just so grateful for that mirror.
Awesome, let's go to Tiffany.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you're watching from. I'm Tiffany Lanier. I am a public speaker, facilitator, and the founder of the Morning Shift Co. We're a company that's dedicated to helping you create powerful morning experiences for organizations and individuals to bridge that well-being and work gap. I have been with, I guess, Women Who Start Up, I was gonna say Denver Startup Week, but Women Who Start Up in particular since 2013 was my very first event, and we'll probably get in the history of that. I hosted my first rally in 2017, I think. So it's been quite a journey that I've been a part of this amazing organization, so much so that they keep bringing me back, even though I don't even live in Denver anymore. I'm in Florida. But I'm so connected and so ingrained in this community that I keep coming back for more. So I'm excited to be here and have all the conversations.
Thanks, Tiffany. Liz, let's hear from you.
Well, good morning. I'm so delighted to be with this group of people. I've been looking forward to this session more than anything else that I'm doing during Denver Startup Week, because I know it'll be honest and I know it'll be real, and it won't be, a sugar-coated party. It'll be the reality of what everybody's facing. So it might be a party too, who knows, maybe there'll be a cocktail at the end. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Suna. I am probably right now the person in this room who is wrestling with the most employees. We just surpassed 100 employees this Monday, which is just the wildest thing you can possibly imagine. Learning and growing and constantly trying to understand how to expand in my capacity for leadership and expand in my capacity for representation for this community, because I moved to Denver 6 years ago, and it has been a life-changing thing for me to do so. And it's in large part because of the people that are in this room that cultivated a safe place and a community for women to grow. So thanks for having me.
And Lizelle.
all my favorite people on screen, and hi to all the other people joining us. So I'm Lizelle Van Vuuren. I am the founder of Women Who Start Up. 9 years ago, yes, 9 years ago, I sat outside of Galvanize Denver. It was the first Galvanize, co-working space, and I coined this little Women Who Startup event, which we'll talk about today. And for the last 9 years, I've been working on Women Who Start Up, sometimes a side project, sometimes as a full-time effort of importance, sometimes as a ball and chain that I didn't know how to figure out or how to fundraise for. It's been everything to me, and I can't wait to dig into that. So aside from that, I'm a serial entrepreneur. I have been in technology since I was 19 years old, which is like 700 years now, especially startup years. It feels like 1,000 years. I'm the co-founder and CMO at Undoc. Check out undoc.com. I want to welcome everyone to the calendar network that we're building. But I have a deep passion for technology, innovation, entrepreneurship, and I really love making sure that women are in the spotlight as we are building our companies. And 9 years ago, when I set out to build my first company, I realized that there were very few women in every room I would walk into. Meetups, tech events, conferences, you name it. There's very, very few women in the room, and very little diversity overall. And so I've made it, I guess, just organically a part of my life to make sure that when we're walking into rooms, when it comes to entrepreneurship, technology, innovation, creativity, that we at least take a few moments to look around and make sure that everyone is welcomed into the equation, because that's where I feel like the most impassioned work and the most important work can come from, if everyone realizes that they are welcome into the room, at the table. And certainly when it comes to entrepreneurship, everyone should have a seat or an opportunity. So that's a little bit about me. I'm sure we'll get into it.
Awesome. Thank you. Thanks, everyone. I want to talk about how this whole roundtable thing came about. And I'm going to take you down this path of a story under a tree with Lizelle and I, as we were having this conversation literally 2 weeks ago. And a lot has shifted and changed over the years. We've had the amazing energy of all being in a room together for the rallies, Women Who Start Up rallies in the past. We had the shift to virtual for 2020, where Women Who Start Up rally was online and just as powerful and just as energetic. And then 2021, I think for a lot of us it's this weird, obviously Denver Startup Week is hybrid, but I think our lives were a little bit hybrid, and we were kind of trying to figure out, we're not fully post-COVID, we're not in the midst of it really, but we're not over it. And so what does this even look like for Women Who Start Up Rally? And with what Lizelle just shared about Undoc, and there's just so much stuff going on, as one of the organizing committee, I looked up one day and was like, wait, where's the rally? And we started getting some not upset, but just some really concerned and very pointed emails of, where's the rally? What is happening here? So I was like, Lizelle, we need to have a walk. So we walked around Wash Park, and towards the end of that walk, because she knew I was going to ask this question, and I held it to the end. So after almost an hour and a half, I was like, all right, so let's talk about Denver Startup Week. Let's talk about the Women Who Start Up Rally, because I know I look for this every year, and I thrive in coming together with a group of women like this every year, and we got to do something. And so, and Lizelle, please feel free to chime in. Hopefully I wasn't too strong-armed. I feel like I'm super
No.
gentle and yet direct in my approach.
I could use some strong arming, right? That's a good thing. That's not a bad thing. Besides, when I'm surrounded by all of you, I listen. I have so much admiration and respect, and I'm so inspired by all of you that you are definitely the people that I would immediately just stop and listen to, as I do. And here we are. Good things happen when I listen to all the people that I'm looking at on screen today. Yes, you know, I'll very briefly just hint at, I didn't do it. I didn't not plan something on purpose. I am building again. And so being the co-founder of a technology startup, Undoc, takes an immense amount of energy and time, and we only have so much energy and time. And Women Who Startup is one of the most important things in my life to me. I've also given it 9 years of my life. So to be very honest, I wasn't sure that I would get any feedback. I just thought that, you know, the 10th annual Denver Startup Week would just kind of do its thing. I gave it some thought, and I really hadn't soundboarded it out with anyone. And then the messages kind of started, which I'm not gonna lie, was kind of amazing, surprising too. And you know, Diane Miles, she would hit me up, and then Miss Olivia started hitting me up, and I was like, well, you know, I just don't think I have the energy to do a full rally for this year. But again, here we are. And I think we're doing something of great value to have a deep dive conversation on a lot of things, The last 9 years, women in entrepreneurship in general, entrepreneurship in Denver, Colorado, where we started, where we're heading, how much it took off of our backs to get to this point. And you know, I have no complaints, but I have some thoughts.
Awesome. Yeah. So anyway, we're here, and I was like, let's just do a small roundtable. Let's get, you know, real and to the point. Let's get for real on this conversation, and invite you all in. We definitely didn't want to miss this year. So Lizelle, thank you for doing this, and to everyone here, thank you for coming. I want to ask this next question to Simone, Tiffany, and Liz of your very first Women Who Startup story. And this could be at a rally, this could be at a Women Who Startup event. For me, my first Women Who Startup story is really a Lizelle story, because I met Lizelle probably, and the years are all blurring. I just start throwing years out, and then I have to calculate based on my kids' ages, because I don't, but probably 6 or 7 years ago, I was on a panel at Denver Startup Week, sitting next to the Lizelle Van Vuuren, and I had heard about her and crossed paths and heard about Women Who Start Up, and hadn't been to a rally yet, but was really drawn to this community. And just, I joke about it, but sitting next to you, Lizelle, like the energy, I felt like it was electric. I was like, I could feel this woman's passion. Just from sitting next to you. And that was like my first experience. And then, you know, formally meeting you after that, and continuing to learn more about you and become closer, and ultimately becoming your friend, and not just a, you know, Denver ecosystem acquaintance, has been truly amazing. So I want to hand this off to anyone, can jump in, but what was your story like around Women Who Start Up and the impact it's had on you?
I'll start because I'm like OG to the fullest. I remember I had just moved to Denver in 2013, I think August, maybe early September 2013. And so being brand new to the city, I had just, you know, started my entrepreneurial journey in 2012. So I was still very new to everything. And so being in Denver, I was like, I don't even know how to take my business that I started in Florida and really get it going in Denver. So I saw that Denver Startup Week was happening, probably Twitter or something, which I'm still not very active on, but I think I saw the memo on Twitter, and I saw something about the rally. And I'm not sure if it was the first official rally or not. I don't recall at this point, because it does blur all the years, but I remember sitting in this audience of a ton of people, like just a ton of women. And I was sitting like far to the back, because I think I probably came late. and I was sitting in the back, and just like in the energy, like you were saying, Olivia, like Lizelle's energy, I just remember her coming like down the walkway with like her flag. And it's just, you're like, okay, this is legit. Like something is going on here and I'm loving it. And I just remember feeling like this was my place. I was here with these people. And though there were tons of people in the audience, I didn't know if I would ever even meet Lizelle, like, you know, if that was ever going to be a relationship. But I remember feeling like this is a place for me. So I started going to the different one-off, monthly events that they were having. And at some point, definitely, obviously met Lizelle and we became fast friends. But the Women Who Start Up, just community as a whole, became so fundamental for me. That first year that I was in Denver, I met so many of my still now friends years and years later. But moving fast forward into a year, I was pregnant, and being pregnant in a new city with not very many, not knowing very many people was really scary. And Lizelle knows this story well, but I had a very complicated pregnancy come fall of 2014. And it was very scary for me, to the point that, I was basically diagnosed with a plethora of different things. And it was a strain on my pregnancy that could have, every time I talk about it, I think I get like really emotional, but I was diagnosed with a series of things that threatened the life of both myself and my unborn child at the time. And Women Who Start Up in the community and the women there were so supportive of me through that time. I could call on any one of them to be there and to support. And that was just life-changing, to have that kind of network and have that kind of support, still being relatively new, to this town. And so for me, outside of entrepreneurship, yes, all the things that I learned along the way, but what it always comes back to is the women supporting women and being unstoppable together and being stronger together. All of those, still ring true to my ear, because that's what this community has been. And then of course, on the business side of being able to connect and connect people to other people. And so from there, I've just been, ingrained into this community. And I was so excited when Lizelle invited me back, I think in 2017, to actually host the rally. And, since then I've just been in it and you can't get rid of me. And so I'm here.
Oh, very moving. I have so many.
Yeah. Oh, no, I think the thing about Lizelle and Women Who Start Up and what Lizelle's created is Lizelle takes up space. And I say that coming from a place of, as women in business, even founders, we sometimes question the square footage that we can take up in a room or in a setting. And so the way Lizelle is, and it's her way of being, is Lizelle gives no Fs. She comes in, she is a wild advocate for women. And that then becomes this contagious, maybe I shouldn't use that during a pandemic, but it becomes this, we'll say, magnetic thing, right? Where you're like, I have wanted to take up space, but seeing this woman moving in these rooms who takes up this space, I now feel like I too can take up space. She says what she thinks. She says what a lot of us wish we could say. And that's key though, right? As a woman in business, I don't think that men ever are like, am I being too loud? Am I being too assertive? And those are things that previously, we'll call it PL, pre-Lizelle and Women Who Start Up, I would sometimes wonder, like, are you taking up too much space? And Lizelle takes up space. And then when she takes up that space, she builds the table, she pulls up seats at the table, and she doesn't keep count, right? Like, you're not going to, and this is that community too, where it's like, okay, if there's an opportunity to extend for somebody else to build their business, build their brand, dream, like, I'm going to help you do it. And guess what? I'm not here with my little tick marks. Like, well, I helped 5 people do that today, and you owe me, like, because that's like bullshit energy. And that's just not what it's about. And so I think like that's the thing that has been so incredible for me, to where it's this genuine authenticity, where it's like, you know what, we're women and we are taking up space, not thinking about it unapologetically. And And that's just been an amazing thing to watch. And sometimes, like, if I'm not feeling confident in a room, I'm like, well, what the hell would Lizelle do? Okay, maybe I won't coach that much, but I'm about to take up space, right? And if people leave from being with me and they're like, ooh, I've done my job, right? And that has been a huge lesson of how this organization shows up and how Lizelle shows up for herself and for all of us. Like, she's out here, she will crack some heads because of all of us that are panelists or on this call. Like, Lizelle's gonna crack some heads for you, whether you know it or don't know it. She's probably cracked a few heads for you all on the phone, and she's not keeping count. And I feel like that's how we all need to move.
Yes, I love that. This is so the new coin and phrase, WWLD, what would Lizelle do in that situation? I love it.
You see, you are embarrassing me to death. And I told Olivia I did not want to do something where, like, it was going to be like Lizelle, and I feel so it's like, it's extremely humbling. And you know, I'm going to try not to cry throughout this whole fucking thing because, you know, you know, this community means
how about
so
I'll try
much.
not to embarrass you to death. I'll try to embarrass some of the other people in the room to death instead. You know what I would say is, when you have, and this is a calling for any person who's even in attendance right now, is, you know, when we think about our communities, building a community, and a community can look like a lot of different things. You know, it can look like your family, it can look like your friend groups, it can look like your company, it can look like any number of places. But what Women Who Start Up, which is the group that we've all been talking about today, came together. It was a community for many of the women in this group who are really powerful and important entrepreneurial voices in Denver, but also now in other places. And they had a place, a community to be together. Why is it so essential that we have a place to be together? Because it's a recharge. It's like a battery. We all have a certain amount of emotional energy, mental energy, physical energy, spiritual energy, whatever energy you're carrying in the world, we all have a certain amount of energy. And so where is your community where you go recharge that energy, where you go be reminded about the energy that others are putting out into the world? And so while I think it's literally been a year since I've seen the other women in this room, I see them on social media going after their ambitions. I see them in the world, in the press, in the media, and emails, having a voice and having a place and being unapologetically themselves. And it is a reminder of what I also need to be doing in the world, because I'm part of a community that centers women, that centers our work and centers our importance. And so it is absolutely about Women Who Start Up. It's absolutely about Lizelle, but it's also about the group of women that have come together to energetically recharge themselves in one another's presence, and then bring that energy out into the world in a way that benefits all people in ways they may not even tangibly understand.
Incredible.
I love that. Thank you.
Can I share like a short story of everyone, how I met everybody?
Of course.
Like, yeah. So I'll just start with Liz because you just spoke. And I remember when Liz moved to Denver, and we all, we had mutual peers in the Denver startup community, Michelle and them, who were, I think, working at that web agency that now my mind is failing me. I'm sorry. But anyway, we connected through mutual peers in the community, and met up at Pines Pub, which is like an old English pub, you know, in Denver, Colorado. And I remember walking up and being like, hello, hello, hello. And she was just moving here from Minnesota, excuse me. Yep. And yep. And I remember this very personally because for me, you know, the effort of Women Who Start Up, the investment of Women Who Start Up, the life of Women Who Start Up wasn't because I was like, just interested to, like, I don't know, start something and monetize it and start a business. Like, none of that was relevant to me. It was like meeting these incredible women that could teach me about life, about business, about everything, how to be a good person, how to run a great company, how to be, you know, be significant. And every one of these women are extraordinary, significant, have the highest integrity, brilliant minds, creative. And so when I'm like meeting Liz, she had just gotten out of a terrible relationship. It was like a nightmare situation. It was very, it affected her whole life to the point where she up and, changed gears in her life. And I'm sad it happened then. I'm so glad it happened because it brought, Liz to Denver. And then Liz went on, in the community and connected and networked and did all these things and launched Mightior, Miss Elizabeth Giorgi of Mightior. Everybody fucking knew Mightior. And they started out with like building everybody's startup videos for their crowdfunding campaigns. And, it's just like, things were, and then today she's like the, CEO and co-founder of Suna. Check out Suna, incredible company that, birthed out at here, Denver and Minneapolis. Yep. With her co-founder, Haley, who's another extraordinary woman. And it's just like, how lucky are we to be surrounded by these extraordinary people if you take the time to go beyond the extension of like networking with, your community. It's like really digging into the lives of humans and seeing their full potential and saying, fuck, yes, you can, yes, you can go build that company. And then when you are surrounded by people who are like, yes, you can, yes, you should, let us, stand behind you and, kick some doors down and whatnot. That's that's what I remember about Liz. And we've been, I wouldn't say acquainted, we've been friends ever since. Like I've been watching her, just build like a beast, and she's been a great support system for me. And hopefully every now and then I share some fucking wisdom in return. But like, I remember meeting Miss Simone, and we were in the Riveter Denver. She was the GM of the Riveter Denver. And I remember like turning around, and here was this like extraordinary person with this just like wonderful energy. And I was like, I've got to meet this person. I've got to meet her. And I was like, hi, I'm Lizelle. I'm from Women Who Start Up. And she's like, oh, okay. And it was this history from there. I was like, I needed to be around this person. She seemed so intelligent, so creative, so inspiring to people. And I was like, this is Women Who Start Up. To me, it was about magnetic. It was about energy. It was about the humans that are not just here for some self-fulfilling prophecy, although all of us are entitled to that, but it's also about like, how am I influencing the world around me, the people around me? Who am I dragging up the mountain, as my mother taught me at a young age? Like, who am I dragging up this mountain with me? One of the most amazing things about Miss Tiffany is, I remember meeting her very early in the Women Who Startup journey. She was there starting 2013, right from the beginning. She has every annual t-shirt in her collection. Born to Start Up, like every t-shirt that I ever created. She's even wearing one of the recent t-shirts now, which is so sweet, but one of the most instrumental things I remember, and we were instantly friends. I was like, I love this woman. She is gracious. She is wisdom. I need to be around her and all these other people. And we were at a collaborative event. Women Who Start Up was doing something with another, I think, platform, maybe like Elevate or I don't remember, but we were in a museum. Do you remember this? We were in a museum, like an art gallery of some sort that hosted an event. And she was one of the first Black women that I felt that I could tell her all the things that I feel like we're failing at, to be inclusive and to be instrumental to make sure that the equity within our ecosystem, and as I was building it, was considered, and not in a polarizing way. What else did I need to learn? Not that I wanted to burden her with needing to be instrumental and teach me all the things about so many things, but I felt like we had a respectful friendship that I could share these challenges that I wanted to overcome and that I wanted to be better and all these things. And she was one of the most influential people early in the Women Who Startup journey and in my life, in my absolute fucking life as a human being, that gave me that gave me wisdom respectfully, but she laid into it and she spoke her truth, and I listened and I learned, and I will always be grateful for that. And you can't be a better, decent human being if you're not fucking vulnerable and open enough to ask really challenging questions of people that hopefully, you know, don't just battle with you, but will be open enough where there's friendship and respect, so that I can learn how to do better and be better. Because I was never going to be a Black woman, so I was never going to fully comprehend, but I needed to know everything to the extent where I was never going to polarize parts of our ecosystem. And I wanted to learn more, be better. And she was instrumental in that regard. And I share that not because I want all of us to like burden our, you know, friends and peers and colleagues with, you know, you have to educate yourself. So I just want to preface that, like, you have to educate yourself. There's plenty of information, you know, you can educate yourself. And if you lead with empathy, then you're likely not going to be an asshole or, you know, all those kinds of things. But I do think that it's instrumental to surround yourself with people that are willing to also teach you, build you up, and be a better person. And then Miss Olivia, I just have, you know, I have such a wonderful memory of that panel that you talked about that we were on, and I was like, who is this person? I was like, oh my God, who is this person? And how do I become friends with this person? And how can I learn from this person? And she was gracious also to not be like, fool, move along. You know, she was gracious enough to always showed me just so much grace and respect. And I think what I can honestly say is the people at this table, virtual it may be, are people who have made me a better human. And that has been instrumental for Women Who Start Up becoming an ecosystem and environment, much like Liz is explaining, is when you're surrounded by people who make you just not even like somewhat better as a person, but people that show you grace, teach you, would be there if you had the courage to ask for help. You then transmit that into whatever you're building, right? And I can honestly say that things that I've learned, things that I've watched all of you do and how you do it and why you do it, you know, has made me just a better person, a better woman, a better human, a better leader, a better communicator, have a lot more empathy and grace and vulnerability. Like, you've all taught me a lot about that, because, you know, I'm a rookie in like a million and one things. I know some shit, but plenty I don't know. And when you surround yourself with, you know, instrumental people in your life, hopefully you become like 5% better than you were a few years ago. And so I can honestly say you've all made me, all the decency that's in me is because of these people. And my mother.
That too back. And you know, you've made all of us better humans, better business women, better, you know, in all of these different ways. And I want you to know, and Lizelle did say she did not want this to be the Lizelle show. And she like in this conversation, she's like, yeah, let's do it. And then we started talking about it. And she's like, nope, let's not do it, because she didn't want it to be the Lizelle show. And I promised her I wouldn't, but I also said I'll run it so that I can kind of do what I need to do, because I truly, truly believe in giving people their flowers while they are here and able to receive them. And Lizelle, you have impacted more women than you could possibly imagine, even those that never will say a word and that will never never admit to it, you have changed so many lives. This next kind of question, all of this works really well and flows really well together. But Simone, I love that you said Lizelle takes up space. She gives no Fs. She becomes magnetic in that, because that's something that I have struggled with, is walking into a room and not wanting to draw attention and not wanting to demand what I need and want and what I deserve. And that definitely rubs off. But sometimes what that does do, Simone, you touched on this as well, is that creates a certain perception in the community or people around about us. And a man has never had to apologize about taking up space, being too loud, demanding too much, et cetera, et cetera. And as Lizelle and I were under this tree and talking, I was like, I wish the world could see the Lizelle that I see right now. The vulnerable person, literally, I've never seen Lizelle cry, but she did get teary, and just expressing how much she cares about the community and that it's not about her. And I think sometimes the perception is different because she takes up space, because she demands these things. So the question here is, what persona do you project out into the community as a business person, as a CEO, as a founder, solopreneur, et cetera? And what are you holding back? If anyone wants to in there.
I would love to hear the other people say that for us, because I think you'd sometimes have no clue about the persona you project, just to see if there's some alignment. So I would love to hear what somebody else would say. What I would say is that I can tell you what I fight. Is that, I, as a person who possesses the intersections of being a Black woman who appears younger than she is. Thank you, Mom. There are things that I feel like I have to fight, right? And so I'm constantly battling that narrative in my mind, saying these are things you have to fight. These are things you have to sit in, and you just are, and they're valuable. And so, and these things come from corporate experience of being told I don't smile enough. Which is a whole thing, right? And so it's, taking those narratives and saying, okay, is that real? Do you want to own that? That's actually not your issue. That is a microaggression and implicit bias that's informed by nothing you can change. And so, fighting that, or just fighting that thing of being able to balance being my authentic self, which is full of my culture, right? It's full of my colloquialisms, and being able to be that authentic person wherever I am, to where everybody can feel that authenticity, and letting go of the judgment, right? Like I've noticed just this week in my new role as interim CEO, I've gotten a few I was on a call this morning and somebody said, well, who are you? Who's going to be filling in for the chamber in the absence of Kristen? And I said, it's me. And they said, you? And so, it's again, fighting that, right? Like at possessing this brown skin, it's, fighting those things to, number one, shake it off. Number two, figure out the right times to be able to be that person that, snatch some edges, and we can have a real quick conversation about how grotesque that comment was. And just being able to stand in that truth, shake off the stuff, do my work, right? And a lot of my work is around internalized oppression, right? It's around having that your worthiness. It's around being told that you're not good enough in corporate, being passed up for opportunities because of nothing but the body that I live in. And so it's working through that. And then WWLD, what would Lizelle do? Take up space, right? And so that's the stuff I'm working on. And so I try to have a persona that shows that. And so I don't know how the hell I come off to other people. But it's just what do you wake up every day and say who you're going to be and how you're going to be? And it's just, and two, I grew up, again, being a Black woman where it's white people want to hurt you. They want to take things from you. They want to discredit you. And that was the narrative that I was given. And so two, it's also doing that work, right? to say, maybe not all white people are like that. And doing my internal work, right? But those messages came from a grandfather who had a cross burned on his front yard, right? So he should have told me those things. But it's figuring out how to be in this world, in this body, making this contribution with the goals that I have and still be able to do it.
I think a lot about the concept of when we were young and, you know, you wanted to go on a field trip at school and your parents would sign a permission slip for you to go on that field trip. I think a lot about writing myself permission slips to be angry when I'm angry, permission slips to feel my feelings all the way through, permission slips to let, you know, an older white man know that he's offended me with his question. How many permission slips can I write myself in a given day in order to best honor my potential and best honor the hard work that I'm doing? Because anytime that we sort of prevent ourselves from showing up fully in this life, we actually prevent ourselves from being able to achieve our greatest ambitions and actually withhold what we have to give. And I think so much of what I witness and want to honor in this room is that it isn't always easy to authentically allow yourself to do those things. I think of a conversation I had 2 weeks ago as the co-founder and CEO of a technology startup. And I'm in a room with a German gentleman who is considering investing in my company. And he said, he ended this 30-minute conversation with, well, Liz, you know, what I can't seem to get past here is you are not an engineer. And so what exactly makes you so special? And I had a choice, right? I could capitulate to his belief that I'm not special, or I could write myself a permission slip in that moment to say, no, I am special. And you deciding if I'm special is not actually the game that I want to play. And so, one, you're offensive with this question. Two, you may have just met me, but I'm an incredibly compelling person. Many people want to work for me, with me, and alongside me. And the fact that you feel comfortable asking this question just speaks to how limited your understanding of human creativity is. And it's not, that man now hates me. And you know what? Fine. Like, if you don't collect some haters along the way, then you probably are honoring yourself as much as you should. Mm-hmm. And I really think that is my work all day, every single day, is to figure out how to honor my potential in this life and honor how I want to show up and what it can really do in service to myself and others along the process.
Love that. Literally, we all need to have I'm thinking in my head of the imaginary prescription writer, or, you know, like give myself permission, literally write that out. I give myself permission to take up space, to not fall into the misconceptions that are out there about me potentially.
When I think about, go, Lizelle.
No, Tiffany, you go.
Early on in my entrepreneurial journey, I think perfectionism, like so many, was like the biggest thing. Perfectionism, and to Liz's point, like likability. I wanted people to like me, so I wouldn't always speak up or share or give my most vulnerable, authentic version of any particular answer. And over the years, I think being a part of groups like this and conversations like this definitely helps kind of peel back those layers of understanding self and being exposed to bright minds and be like, you know what, I don't have to prescribe to this way anymore. To the point that I think I became so vulnerable in my journey because I just wanted to share, but I also stopped giving, you know, 2Fs about what people were thinking. And so that's a very interesting to go from like, I need the praise, I need people to like me. I want that to being like, I'm just going to share, and what people take, they'll take, and what they don't, they'll walk away from, and being totally fine with that. But even in those two paradigms, what's interesting is this last 20 months has been a lot probably for just about everyone to some degree. Early on, a week into quarantine, I found out I was pregnant. And so a lot of the things that I was working on and moving fast with pretty much came to like a halt in like a matter of what felt like a week, literally a day or a week. And these last 20 months, I've really struggled because I had to shut down. Like I completely shut down because I was sick all the time. I didn't have the capacity. And I remember Lizelle like reached out to me several times and I was like, I like literally do not have the capacity to show up in this moment. And I felt but I want to be liked and I want to be perfect and I want to show up. And I felt myself fighting that a lot of the time when people would request things of me throughout this last 20 months. And I'm just like, I just can't. And I'm proud of myself for honoring those moments because it was difficult. And it showed great maturity in my part. Like, I'm like, yay for growth. It showed how much I've grown to be able to say, I don't have the capacity. It's not in me right now. It's not my season. And that's really hard for ambitious women who are always on the go and want to strive for more and do great things in the world, to take a step back. And like coming into this, I'm just coming off of an extended maternity leave because I just couldn't. And I've just been exhausted and tired. Pregnancy now with a 10-month-old. And we don't usually give ourselves permission to take that downtime and that rest time. And so for me, it's coming out of perfectionism and likability to being real and honest with myself so that I can show up to be real and honest with those around me, whether I know and like and trust them and my community, or whether they're complete strangers. Like just saying what is, that goes to even money. I've been writing some emails lately of just people requesting a lot of me and my time and my energy and being like, well, this comes with this price. And if they don't accept that, well, I can't do it. I just can't do it. And so being able to be real honest with yourself so that you are authentically showing up for how you need to show up in the world has been my lesson along the way, but more so even grounding in this last 20 months of being like, you know, life is short. Like things are happening in the world. We're all changing. And if you're not showing up for yourself the way that you want to, then what are we doing? Like, why are we doing this? So that's my take.
I love that. And this balance between, you mentioned, Tiffany, likability, and then showing up as your authentic self or showing up the way you want to show up. And we are human. And so as being human beings, we care what people think. We care about that likability. And as much as I've tried to say, because I wrote a book on being authentic, and even in that, like, it's hard for me to show up authentically because of that balance. I've been recently struggling. I just took a position and negotiated my salary, felt so proud of myself because I took up space. I said, this is what I need. And they were like, okay. And so now I'm stepping into this role, second guessing, do I show up and look like, mainly it's looks, because Simone talked about how we show up, and physically, I cannot take off the skin. I cannot take off the fact that I'm a woman. I cannot grow my hair out longer or do, all of these different things. So when I show up, am I meeting that salary that I just negotiated and required? Am I meeting the resume that I submitted? Are people like, is this the person we hired? Like Simone said, oh, you're taking over? And that starts to kind of consume the thoughts of how I dress. Do I look smart? Oh, let me take off this chain because this probably makes me look younger or less smart or less mature or this and that. And people talk about this notion of imposter syndrome, and I hate that term because it's not a syndrome that we, have been struck with and that only certain people deal with. I think we all deal with that on some sort of level because we are all human. Does anyone
I had
help?
imposter syndrome coming into this group even, and I know all of you. because I've been like I said, out of commission for damn near 20 months. And I'm like, who am I to show up and start sharing or speaking or doing things again? Like I've like really had to do that mental and emotional work with myself. And I'm happy that I'm always doing it to get rid of that mind trash, right? That's constantly trying to interfere with how you show up in the world, and to give yourself credit where credit is due, that just because you pause or pivot or take a break or transition into new positions doesn't discount all the experience and all the time and all the energy that you've put into everything that you've done up until this point. And I think that is so critical for us as women to remember along our journeys of all the changes and shifts that we make along the way, that we are constantly looking for ways to discount all the past selves, when really all of our past selves make up the powerful person that we are in this exact moment. And so kudos to everyone here, both in the panel and as well in the attendees and the audience.
Yeah, now I have some shit to add after Liz. You go.
Well, this is quick. So I actually had a moment recently where I realized that it's incredibly gaslighting to tell women that what we're suffering from is imposter syndrome. And the reflection is this: we are not inventing the limitations that exist for us in the world. We aren't inventing the shitty phrases that are thrown out at us like just random asides in the meetings that we're in. We are experiencing these things, and we are experiencing the constant reality of butting up against people's unrealistically low expectations for us. It is not me who has small ambitions. It is often the world that has an expectation that I should not have those ambitions. And in asking women to constantly deal with this like we have an illness, as opposed to dealing with the illness that is our society and the lack of justice and equity that we functionally have allowed to exist for eons, is just abdicating the responsibility to us. And we all know women have too many goddamn responsibilities as it is. And so I really want us to just, again, write ourselves a permission slip to say, is it about us, or is it about other people having artificially low visions for what is possible for us?
Yeah, we got to debunk imposter syndrome, right? Because then that makes it an us problem. And so I actually don't think that I'm a veneer in any way or sorts, right? Like I'm showing up in the way I need to show up when I need to show up. And so I can't really do anything about what's happening with what other people are expecting. And so that's a part of that work too, right? Where it's like, I'm not going to carry that anymore. What I can carry is, on my best days, showing up at my best. On my days that I'm not at my best, giving myself permission to not be at my best. Because really, like, who's at their best every day? And that's just what it is. And so that's what I can own. The other stuff is not on me. And so we got to debunk that we're showing up in these spaces trying so hard to round hole square peg it, because it's like, actually, no, I fit very well just as I am. And I'm going to bring all of those things with me. I do a lot of coaching with executives about creating psychological safety, allowing people to come up as their full identities, right? All of them, not just these random things, that these personas that you think people need to be. And it's interesting to hear their revelations about all of the things that they possess, that they shield and they put on these veneers for, because they think that this is how we should show up. And it's like, no, just show up how you are, man. Like, no, and life is too short. What we've seen these past 18 months is that no one has time to wear a mask every single day, literally and figuratively. Like, no one wants to do that anymore. We've been doing it too much. And so we got to change the world and make them come along with us.
Incredible. Liz and Simone took that where I was trying to head with it, because I think what everyone has been touching on in the last several minutes is society's perception and our own war with our self-worth, especially as women. And I love that y'all just brought this to the to the table, because imposter syndrome, I feel like everyone experiences this in different variations and to different degrees. I think entrepreneurs particularly experience imposter syndrome all the time. I can't tell you, how many times a day you're like, fuck, do I know what I'm doing? Do I have the chops here? And the interesting thing is, it's kind of like what Tiffany was saying, something really sparked for me. And she's like, I even felt imposter syndrome being a part of this table. And it doesn't even surprise me that she would say that, because I understand where that's coming from. But it's so sad to me at the same time, because guess what? I think women, we do so much that we forget how much we've done. And then when there's no time to remember all these things. If I sat down, which I've had to do recently, and in 2020, I did a lot more reflection of my life. Okay, just stop for a moment, take the time to take some inventory of your life and consider what you're doing with your time, right? And I did that, believe me, I did that. And I've been doing a lot more of that. And it's like, what have you done? What the fuck haven't you done? What haven't I done? What haven't I tried? What mountain haven't I climbed? What potential in myself and in others have I not tried to tap into? And there's plenty more to be done, sure. But I really truly think that the more women are included into environments of this nature, we help each other extract so much that we have done, because it's a reminder that you have done a ton. You have done a ton. Can you imagine someone like Tiffany that's been involved in Women Who Startup for 9 years, an instrumental voice, leader, creator, storyteller, entrepreneur, all sorts of amazing things that I can attribute? Would imagine that just because I've been giving time to being a mom and giving some time to my own physiology, my health, which is my wealth, and my newborn baby, that now I'm not worthy anymore. And it's not Tiffany's fault. It's because society says, go, 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 go. And boy, do we, don't we? Especially in American culture. We do. We don't, we just go, we build, we launch, we ship, we fundraise, we lead, we curate, we are good neighbors, we are good fucking stewards to society, we pay our taxes, we go. These are human conditions, but there's also then the extra slice that we get, which is like, but are you the new face of the Colorado Women's Chamber? Are you qualified? Are you the right person to be the CEO of Suna? I mean, you're not an engineer. How could you possibly fucking know how to run a company? And I mean, you probably shouldn't be at the table when it comes to equating things to creativity and entrepreneurship and whatever. I mean, you've been changing diapers for the last, 7 months. How could you possibly think straight? I mean, oh my God.
I am wondering, how am I thinking straight?
Which is fair, which is fine, which is whatever. But we get to be all those fucking things. We get to be CEOs and we get to be leaders. We get to be founders, and some of you choose to be mothers or parents or stewards to younger people who call you their parents. You get to be whatever and show up authentically. A lot of, I think a lot of what Simone is saying, it's like, I'm gonna show up as my full authentic self. It's not always simple. It's not always easy. And Miss Olivia, you were hinting at this, which is like, I get this incredible opportunity and you didn't get this. You earned this. Timing was right. You opened yourself up to this new opportunity. You've worked your whole fucking life and career towards you being open to allowing that opportunity to present itself to you. That is where you are energetically and all that. I think all of that. And yes, we still go, ugh, can I do this job? Am I qualified? How do I show up? Am I like this Olivia, or am I like that Olivia? Or do I need to be like this variation? And it's kind of like, what's amazing is what Miss Olivia shared with me about her new role is she's going to have all these young women that that might be working with her. And I'm thinking, God, you're going to be this beacon. And that's a lot on your shoulders. You're like, there's the job, and then there's the leadership of the job, which is to be a beacon to all these younger people. And here's what I just want to remind everybody of, which is we just need to keep reminding each other that our work, when we reach a certain maturity, I believe that we realize that our work does not define our self-worth. And you're hearing right now from a type A, Enneagram 8, somewhat perfectionist, have to work really hard at that. Very, very, very high expectations of myself and sometimes of those around me. A very, very intensely hardworking person that feels like I haven't scratched the surface of the things that I am capable of. But there comes a time that you have to realize that my work is not my self-worth. My work is how I'm applying my available time and energy towards work that for most of us needs to be very passionate, very inspiring, and deep to the core of who we are as human beings. Otherwise, we wouldn't do the things that we're doing. A lot of us are not out there just with the job in the corporate enterprise. A lot of us are our work, are our brands, are our beacons within certain ecosystems and communities. And God forbid some of that like goes astray, because then your self-worth implodes. And let me tell you, 2018 and 2017 leading into 2018 was one of like the toughest years of my life. I remember hosting the Women Who Startup rally in 2018. It was massive. It was massive. It was huge, and it was incredible. And I was physically unhealthy. My body was just screaming at me for how much the stress and like I have lots of not lots, that sounds crazy, but I have autoimmune related, things that I live with, that I'm allergic to stress. And so the more stress, the blah, blah, blah. And I remember like how tough the year was, and I couldn't fundraise. And, a lot of people ask me, it's like, well, why didn't you just quit? And I was like, well, that wasn't an option. I wasn't gonna quit on all these women. Like, I can't fucking do that. I needed to rest and think. And then other people are like, well, yeah, I mean, so, you failed to really figure out how to fundraise. And I was like, yeah, me and fucking 98% of all women who try to get a check cut to build anything. So I was like, I don't know if I'm particularly failed at fundraising, or I did. I take full responsibility for that, by the way. But it was just like really, really tough. And, the best thing that I could tell myself, which I'll end with, was you just need to rest. You just need to take a rest. You need to take a break. And I took my foot off the gas a little bit. And I've actually been taking my foot off the gas ever since, trying to figure things out. We have some big announcements coming up for Women Who Start Up. But it was 2018 was one of those years where I had to really face, like, if I wasn't achieving all of these set goals for Women Who Start Up, am I as a human being worthy? I had no disassociation. It was like, I am this, and if it's failing, I'm a failure, right? Mm-hmm. And let me teach you the lesson here, which is, it wasn't that I was a failure. It's sure, I was taking shots and I was missing shots. And as an entrepreneur, you have to take a million shots. Otherwise, nothing's going to happen. And it wasn't that I was failing myself. And when you fail yourself, your everything else will sadly be affected by that, right? And so when I reprioritized health and wellness and mindfulness and all these things, and it's taken me like the last 3 years to really do, it changed my life and it's changed everything that I'm building, right? And so when you're building things for years and years and years and years and years, you're going to go through these ups and downs, trials and tribulations. Maybe you start a family, maybe you go through health changes, maybe you lose a loved one, maybe there's all sorts of grievances and changes and fluctuations. It's life. It's life. Nobody said it was supposed to be simple or linear or easy. You know, it's life. It's life. It's actually by design rather hard. It's a lot of challenges. It's how you surf the waves that keep trying to, plow you down every now and then. And I think the way you do that is you surround yourself with people who remind you to be gracious, remind you to be never, ever compromise your integrity. And that's what this community has done for me, and I think for each other. Sorry that was so long-winded.
That's great. No, thank you, Lizelle, for that. And I have a whole TED talk on it, like literally, that we are not failures. We may fail, but we are not failures. And we have to kind of disassociate from the outcome. Like the outcome isn't a reflection of my value and who I am. So I appreciate that. We are 10 minutes after the hour. This session actually goes until 11:30. So I just want to shout that out. I know a couple of people have probably have had to drop off, but we're going to take literally just the next 15 minutes. We'd love for you all that are still here to put some questions in the chat or the Q&A if you have questions that we can answer at the roundtable. And I want to just give this shout out to Lavondalyn. Girl, you are giving me life in the chat. Thank you so much. And welcome to Denver. Sounds like you just moved here. Welcome to this amazing community. We definitely need to get connected and hooked up with you for sure. So if anyone has questions, please put that. She says, y'all are giving me life. Thank you. Put your questions either in the chat or in the Q&A. And we're just going to take the next 15 minutes. I'll throw out one more question to the women around the table, and we'll answer some of your questions and we'll wrap up shortly here. So we talked about a lot today, and I do want to end on this really positive, energetic note of what does the future look like for the Women Who Startup community. Lizelle said she has an announcement. I don't know if you could tease that today or if that has to wait, but what's the future of the community and what are the needs, not only for us individually, for you all individually, what do you need now? How can we all support you now? And how can we support the Women Who Startup community? So maybe we'll start, Lizelle, you can maybe go last and kind of bring us full circle back to Women Who Startup. Whoever else wants to jump in, what do you need now? How can we support you? And then supporting the community overall.
I think one of the things that is top of mind for me all day, every day is how do I cultivate more awareness of what is really going on with the women in our community. And what I need, candidly, is I need the venture community to start writing more checks and investing in more women, and for our banking community to stop underbanking women, and to not be. I think one thing, I had this crazy tweet storm last week about how I feel exceptionally lonely at this stage in the pandemic because I haven't been able to see all of my friends. I haven't been able to be at a Women Who Startup event. I haven't been able to get out of these Zoom rooms and into real life. And that loneliness, part of the pervasiveness of that loneliness is this feeling that I sense that many of us are very silently or quietly struggling with things in our business that we would normally have an opportunity over a glass of wine to talk about or to vent about. And it's scary to even sit in this room knowing that this is recorded and even share myself fully in this context in a way that feels safe. And so there's this pervasive feeling for me right now at this stage, and God, I hope I'm not the only one, who feels like I've been watching my behavior like a hawk for 20 months just to make sure that I don't mess anything up. And I am tired. And so I think what I need more of in general is just more of seeing women succeeding, but also more of being able to connect with women in a very real and honest way about our private struggles that are so deeply connected to our ability to succeed.
Thank you.
I love this. I love this so much. And I was going to ask this question, which is, can and should women who start up accelerate the spotlighting, the original idea I always had, which is put a woman in the spotlight to share how she's building, what she's building, and why, so that it continues for even all of us to show how women are moving through the experiences of building their companies openly, authentically, honestly. And with that said, what Liz is talking about is not bullshit. Like, especially if you're a venture-backed founder, which both of us are, you're constantly like, which investor is watching my Twitter feed, and which investor is watching my LinkedIn feed, and God forbid I say this or that, and someone's going to come back. And we are not malicious people. Like we are just, and we're not complainers either. Like we do not invest time to sit around and complain. The difference between entrepreneurship as a whole and women building, especially technology companies, especially venture-backed technology companies, or startups that would love to be venture-backed, is that there are different rules and there are still a lot of hurdles. This is not a fucking complaint. This is factual. There are social norms at play, and in the industry that is hindering women from getting enough access to opportunity, right? Women who start up's job has always been one thing: put women in a position of opportunity, always, through community, through education, and ultimately capital, access to capital, because this is about business, but this is about the human beings that are building the businesses, right? Entrepreneurship is always about people, right? It's not about some arbitrary thing. It's about people who have the boldness to take ideas and want them to put them in the market and hire people to go build those crazy ideas into businesses that accelerate and make money and puts food on tables and hopefully brings value into the world. And so I just wanted to amplify what Liz is saying to the point where, if y'all should tell me if you all agree with this, which is more, louder, stronger, forcefulness around fucking women in the spotlight, building, winning, shipping, sharing, leading, right? Like, if that's what we need more of, and that's what Women Who Startup's job needs to be over the next 10 years.
I think that's great, Lizelle. And one thing that, as you're talking, that came to my mind is I personally feel like I would be more open to sharing transparently in a setting like this, where it's a roundtable of women and we are talking about these issues and what we have in common, than a spotlight on just me and me talking. Like, I know that just for myself, that my transparency level will be greater in this setting than a single spotlight. And I agree with you, stronger, louder, more, yes. However, with the lens that we also do need rest, and we also do need to be patient with ourselves and kind to ourselves. I love what Tiffany said about being in a season where I just can't, and I'm at capacity. And so, yes, more, yes, louder, but sometimes we get to capacity. And so there also has to be kind of that, permission there as well. Simone, Tiffany, anything to add around what do you need right now? What do you see that the community needs?
I think this is an interesting space for women, in that I feel like we all have carte blanche just to completely bogart, and we need to do it. We're just at a unique time and place in our world, in our environment. And so I just want more women to just bogart, not even like ask for permission later, but just fucking do it and bogart. And just like try it on, like every single day, elevate a woman, right? Just like elevate another woman, amplify another woman. If you're in a room, even if you don't think you're in a position of influence, you're in a position of influence, and amplify and elevate another woman. And just bring her to the table. If you overhear somebody in the grocery store saying, I've been working on this app, like bogart the fuck out of that conversation. Be like, oh, I overheard you saying you needed somebody to do an app. Well, so-and-so does. Do you want their number? Literally, I've been trying this on for the past 12 months and it is amazing. Do you know how many of my friends I've put on? I don't know because I don't keep count, but like I literally will bogart the hell out of situations. Wearing the mask makes it a little bit easier because it gives me confidence to bogart somebody in Target and be like, oh, I hear you talking to so-and-so on the phone. Well, I have a solution for you. But I mean, truly, like I feel like it's making a macro difference, but I'm like, no, I'm going to bogart and amplify another woman any way I possibly can in the spaces that I take up, whether it's the boardroom, whether I'm talking to a CEO, whether I am getting my ear pierced, it doesn't even matter. I'm amplifying women.
I love you so much.
Incredible. That's what's up.
I'm like, what do I need? And as it pertains to the community, I have a couple of thoughts. Personally, I am re-emerging, right? I am re-emerging onto all the scenes and I'm relaunching my company. And it actually has a lot to do with a lot of the conversations we're having around like well-being, like mental, emotional, physical, spiritual well-being in the spaces of ambitious individuals to create and hold space so that we show up for ourselves. It's themed around like these mornings, like morning routines and rituals, but it's really to create the necessary space for individuals to have this place to show up for themselves so that they can show up for their leadership, show up for their work, show up for their community in a way that is grounding and authentic because they actually are constantly in doing the work, right? And so I'm looking at this and seeing like, hey, I feel even more, there's even more knowing, having a conversation. I'm like, okay, I am doing like the work that I know is like really needed. So now I'm going to bogart and I'm just going to go and be out there, right? On one end for me. So thank you all for being that. But I can see why this is what you're saying and why this is so important, right? To almost be, and even to what Liz mentioned way earlier, like you don't need permission and you don't need people to tell you things, like take up that badassery, which you so are. And I'm so appreciative for you for that. But it's always a great reminder to be in community and to hear things because you're like, oh wait, no, I am great. I am doing exactly what I need. I'm exactly where I need to be. I'm in the season now that is different, is shifting, and I'm okay with that. So I appreciate all of you for being at this table and having me be here. So when I think of like where Women Who Start Up, how it can continue or where it's going, I think all of these ideas of creating the table, I love the red table, like with Jada and all of it. Like the red table really works because you are bringing these diverse thoughts and opinions and just we're being real. Like there's so many podcasts and so many videos and we're all having to be like this cleaned version of what we're presenting and what we're doing and how it's changing the world. But it's very seldom do we get to be like, I'm a mess right now. I am like sometimes barely keeping it together and at the same time totally keeping it together. It's a weird paired, like, like you're this yin and yang experience constantly happening. But having this kind of table space for maybe different industries, like with different people at different stages, so that you're able to talk about like, what does it look like, at the very beginning of building something to then being venture backed, then to like a lot of us, especially those who aren't venture backed or not getting funding, like we don't always know like those ladders, those steps to take even. And so if there was a table for these different types of industries or different types of products, and have like the beginner, like the person who's just, maybe in the middle, and someone who's been doing it for a couple of years, someone who's been doing it for 20 years. I think that would be like a really interesting perspective to see. And then they can have their own conversation and help each other out. I don't know. That's what's coming to me that I think would be interesting to watch, no matter the industry, but then also, as a participant in some way, shape, or form. I think that would be really cool.
And what's so beautiful about that is whether you are bootstrapping on your own or venture backed, it's messy and hard, and you'll see those connectors regardless, so that we all have something in common. We're all feeling the strain. We're all feeling the, elation of starting something that we believe in, regardless of whether, you have the money. I just say that because a friend of mine was talking about, people think venture backed and you've got it made, but there's a whole nother set of issues and pain that goes with that. So
different levels, different levels, different devils, or something, is that that phrase. And I think it would be interesting to have, and if you can, because I know like what you're both saying, Lizelle and Liz, like there's different rules and like how you're supposed to be perceived and how you have to show up. And so I don't know how comfortable, people would feel kind of being in that environment and sharing candidly and openly. I don't know, but I think it could be worth a try.
Thanks.
I mean, what I'm hearing is like, we need to start a show. That's what I'm hearing. And I think Undoc and Suna needs to sponsor it. And maybe we'll get Lee Mayer involved. Maybe Havenly can sponsor it. I need 20 grand by the end of the month. And we're going to start a red table. We're going to call it our table. We're going to start, somebody will come up with a name. I don't have time to come up with a name.
Brainstorming.
We'll
figure it out.
Let's start brainstorming. But how interesting would it be if we could, out of a Woman Who Startup, like always, curate what we believe needs to become accessible in the world, and what a powerful resource it could be if we would have, like, imagine we have these conversations, twice a month, and we invite people in to listen and learn, and it can be thematic or whatever. Like, I'm seriously considering this right now.
We know. I can see like the wheels like turning in your head.
I'm like, oh,
we know.
And the chat's lighting up. I think you're onto something. People are excited about this. So to repeat, we need 20 grand. So just putting that out there. We need some sponsors, and yeah, this is amazing. Sounds
yeah, we can get 2 or 3 sponsors. I think if like we put our heads together, we can go get a few sponsors and launch a show, and the five of us, right? I can count my maths, and the five of us could launch a show, and it can accelerate. How many people are on The View? How many people delegate The View's conversations? Like,
well, The View is 4 or 5 women, but it's so funny because this is what The View was my dream job when I went to college, and I'm still like holding out hope that it will be on.
Giorgi, let's do this. You can be Barbara Walters. Like,
I'm already.
Walters. I'll be Ellen.
Already be working on a show.
Olivia is Oprah.
Oh my gosh. Wait, Liz, what's your dream job?
Oh, I went to school for broadcast journalism. So I went to school to be Barbara Walters. My dream was to be on The View. When I graduated from college in 2007, that was my ambition. What a lot of people don't realize about my story is when I went to my first television job, it was in Texas. And after a month of viewer feedback, I was deemed not very friendly and not wifeable enough, and which are really important factors in television viewership when you're in Texas. And so I ended up becoming a television editor, was very successful at that. But I have always had a little bit of a I think I'm still supposed to be on television. I don't know.
So y'all know I went to school.
I too went to school for that.
Oh, there you go. Look at this.
How did I not know this?
I mean, I've been studying performance arts since I was like 4 years old. I was supposed to be an actor. Maybe I'm just acting as a co-founder. I'm just acting as an entrepreneur. No, this shit really is real. It's like in my bones. But so we'll take this conversation to a meeting, which I'm going to schedule via Undoc because that's what we do. I'm seriously considering that, right? So for 9 years, right? So for 9 years, Women Who Startup did one thing really well every single month. We put a woman entrepreneur in the spotlight, and I interviewed them and I said, how are you building? What are you building? Why are you building it? Blah, 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 right? I've done that hundreds of times. And then every year we get together for our rally, and hundreds of people show up and even virtually tune in. But what's the next 10 years for, for Women Who Start Up? So that's what we're going to do next. Liz had to jump because she has a meeting and she's a CEO after all. But I think, Olivia, I think what this is exciting, and I have some exciting news that's going to be revealed in the next month or so for the next chapter for Women Who Start Up. And all of these measures are being considered: education, everything else. Thank you.
Thank you everyone for joining us. This is streamed on YouTube and will be there so you can look back at it as well. Thanks again to everyone at the table. Lizelle, you are amazing. Thank you for all you do for our community, and thank you for Women Who Start Up. We dearly appreciate you.
All right, we'll keep everybody tuned on social and our newsletter, so sign up for that.
All right, bye.
Have a good week.